In August 1971, Richard Nixon ended the convertibility of dollars to gold. The Bretton Woods system, the framework that had made the dollar the world's reserve currency since 1944, collapsed. Within 2 years, inflation was running at 12% and the dollar was in freefall. In 1974, Henry Kissinger and Treasury Secretary William Simon flew to Riyadh for a series of meetings with the Saudi government that would remain partially classified for nearly 40 years. What they agreed to created the petrodollar system, the arrangement that saved the dollar's reserve status and restructured the entire global financial order. The price of that arrangement has been debated ever since.
The 1973 oil embargo had exposed a critical vulnerability. The United States was dependent on Middle Eastern oil, and OPEC had demonstrated it could weaponize that dependency. Nixon's price controls and the dollar's devaluation made the geopolitical pressure worse. The dollar needed a new anchor.
The core of the 1974 agreement was bilateral and simple in structure. Saudi Arabia would price its oil exclusively in US dollars. Other OPEC members would follow. In return, the United States would provide Saudi Arabia with military protection, arms sales, security guarantees, and a US military presence to deter threats from Iran, Iraq, and the Soviet Union. Saudi surplus oil revenues, which were immense after the 1973 price spike, would be recycled into U.S. Treasury bonds, financing American government debt. The arrangement was not a formal treaty. It was a secret memorandum of understanding.
The mechanism that resulted had a self-reinforcing structure because oil, the world's most traded commodity, was priced in dollars. Every country that imported oil had to hold dollar reserves to buy it. Every country that needed dollars bought U.S. Treasury securities as the safest dollar-denominated store of value. This created a permanent global demand for dollars and for American government debt, regardless of U.S. fiscal conditions. It allowed the United States to run trade deficits and budget deficits that would have been unsustainable for any other country. It was what French Finance Minister Valéry Giscard d'Estaing called America's exorbitant privilege.
The secret nature of the arrangement only became publicly documented in 2016 when Bloomberg News obtained the details through a Freedom of Information Act request. The documents showed that the Treasury had structured the Saudi holdings in a special arrangement that kept them out of normal Treasury reporting, specifically to prevent other countries from knowing the exact scale of Saudi investment in U.S. government debt. The secrecy was not accidental, it was built into the deal's architecture.
The military component of the arrangement has been sustained through every U.S. administration since 1974. Saudi Arabia became one of the world's largest buyers of U.S. weapons. The United States established permanent military facilities in the Gulf region. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, the U.S.-Saudi security relationship was the foundation of the Desert Storm Coalition. When 15 of the 19 September 11 hijackers were identified as Saudi nationals, the U.S.-Saudi relationship survived intact, largely because the economic and military architecture of the petrodollar arrangement made it too costly to rupture.
The system began showing visible fractures in the early 2020s. Russia and China accelerated efforts to price commodity trade outside the dollar system. Saudi Arabia in 2023 announced it was open to accepting non-dollar currencies for oil sales. The BRICS nations formalized discussions of a new reserve currency. The dollar's share of global central bank reserves, still over 58% in 2024, had fallen from nearly 70% in 2000. Whether the petrodollar era is ending or merely adapting is the question that now occupies every major central bank on Earth.
What the 1974 deal created was not just a financial arrangement. It was a structure in which American fiscal deficits were financed by the oil revenues of a government with which the United States had no formal alliance, no democratic accountability relationship, and radically different values. The arrangement provided the United States with extraordinary economic power. It also created extraordinary dependencies that constrained American foreign policy for 50 years. The deal was made in secret. Its consequences have been entirely public. Subscribe. Next video, the private central bank that controls the world's reserve currency but answers to no government.